I'm starting to work on the nest portion of this composition, and unlike the other layers where I worked one at a time and glued one and then cut it, and then glued the next one and cut it, I just went ahead and set up a whole bunch of layers and glued them all at once. So underneath here, I think I have 3 or 4 layers of pages, kind of in 40-page chunks. And I just glued around the outside edges, just like I did with the other layers, and then put wax paper in between. So that's 3 layers to start. But I still have a little chunk of pages at the back that I can also cut into if I want to. Oh, and I did want to mention that after I cut this leaf layer, I ended up cutting yet another support layer, which is slightly smaller than the leaf layer, if you can see that. Just to give the leaf a little bit of lift off of the first layer of the nest. And I kind of want to draw in the circle that I'm going to cut. So I think that's probably the first outline that I want to do. And this is going to be really easy because there's no fussy cutting to do. So I'm just going to cut on this line that I've drawn. And it's easiest when you're doing a curved shape to cut a little and then turn the page rather than turning the knife. But it's also a little awkward with all of this going on over here to keep the pages out of my way. So I've cut through the first layer, and you can see that there's these little bits because I'm cutting this sort of freehand. I'm not intentionally not cutting these layers the same size through each page so that I end up with these little bits sticking out, which I think is going to be really effective for looking like a nest. My plan at the moment is to not glue around the inside, so I'm just going to leave these sticking out to create my nest, if that makes sense. So I'm just sort of cutting in and then leaving these just like that. We'll see how it goes. So next layer down, I'm going to do this slightly smaller. I went ahead and set up 2 more layers of pages to cut, and I think that will get me down to a small enough circle in the center of this nest. While I've been waiting for the glue to set up, I've been playing with Sharpies on my different layers. What I'm doing is kind of dragging the Sharpie along the edges because I sort of have a different effect going between the nest and the flower and the butterfly. Very linear graphic sort of thing going on, and plain old book pages down here. So I want to try and bring those 2 elements together. I'm not really sure yet whether I'm going to gesso over all of this stuff and then paint, or if I'm just going to paint or what. But lines and edging with black seem to be pulling the nest into this sort of graphic world of the rest of the elements in the book. So, and then I'm taking this fine Sharpie and sort of outlining on the tops of each of these little layers here. I think this pen is getting ready to die. So I'm just sort of drawing on the edges, and that includes all of these little feathery bits. So I'm just sort of drawing on the layers that are showing. And I might have to go back and do this again once I paint, but I'm ending up with a nest that is both dimensional and looks like it's drawn. So now I'm all the way down to the last few pages, and I think I'm just going to leave these as a background for the bottom of the nest. I don't want to go all the way through to the back of the book. And all I really need to do now is do a little erasing to get rid of my pencil lines on those last few layers. And I'm just using a white plastic eraser and very gently going around and getting rid of the pencil marks. Just so that I don't end up smearing lead into my paint layer or into my gesso layer. Now I'm just going to do a little playing with my markers, a little edging. So I'm just sort of running around the edge of this. And it's just, I'm just doing this to make the various layers pop a little bit, because right now they all seem to be blending into each other. Maybe that will be fixed when I paint, but I'm not sure how I'm going to paint this yet. I'm kind of waffling about whether I should just gesso over everything and then do a glaze that's sort of in a book page color, and make this all sort of match the book pages, or if I should actually go ahead and paint it bright. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. This is kind of a practice book, so I'm asking a lot of questions as I work. Do I want to do this or do I want to do that? once I figure out a good process, I think I will be a little more confident with this. But right now, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. And that's not a bad thing. Done this a lot with things that I see online, but I don't really know how to execute, or things that spark an idea and I think, oh, I don't think anybody's done it that way yet. I'm gonna have to make this up. Usually turns out okay. Can usually just sort of wing it and something will happen. Maybe not what I intended originally, but something will come of it. So, and then a little drawing along here just to outline. Again, just to bring it into the same world as the other elements of the book.